my life would be very empty without pizza.
I'm Brian with Amongst the Giants, and you're listening to Wildman and Steve.
You are about to listen to the intersection of faith, talk, and music. The Wildman and Steve show starts right now.
All right, Steve, so the main way we're going to open up this episode, as you know, every episode we experiment, how are we going to open an episode? And you never know what I'm going to come up with, do you?
I have no idea, and it terrifies me every time.
Does your heart rate go up? You know?
It does. I got to take medication, you know?
Really?
And at a guy my age.
But then once the opening's over, then you're okay. Is that what it is?
Then I'm fine. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing.
Well, you know, I think the one, you know, we've talked about before how much we have in common, our taste in music, the era we come from and everything else. But there's one thing we have in common I don't think anybody realizes. And maybe you don't even realize it. But it's right here. Look at this. See? We have these.
Oh, yeah. The fact that we're both blind as a bat.
Well, I would like to suggest it's because of glasses. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because there is this movie. It's a kid's movie. My kids were watching it. Yeah, you see, I always use the excuse my kids watching it, right? You know.
Right.
It's called Turbo. If you haven't seen it yet.
I have.
Right, yeah. You have. Do you remember the scene where the guy goes in and he's trying to get it done to get Turbo into the race, and he says, "Come on, you got glasses. I got glasses. What do we got to do to get this done?" Right? So hey. That's how we open the show tonight. Steve, you got glasses. I got glasses. What do we got to do to get this done? You tell me.
I'll tell you what we got to do to get this done. And I apologize to our listeners that you've got to hear a little bit of our dirty laundry here, but this is a little bit of in-house stuff. I just got to take. Wild man, I'm tired, honestly, of you just running all these games on me all the time. Okay. We try to have a serious show here, and all you do is you're just running games, man. You're just running games, and I'm tired of the running games. Okay, so if we could just stop with the running games.
You know, I would stop with the running games, except for the fact that I'm being influenced to do these running games by an incredible guitarist. So I apologize, Steve, if it offends you. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have with us Mr. Joel Hoekstra to talk about his new project just released, Running Games. Joel, welcome back to the program. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's really a joy to have you on again. And, you know, I got to tell you, Joel, every time I hear you play, it's just so inspiring to myself as a guitarist, and just the idea that you're keeping, there's a band that talks about they keep the rock alive, right? Every time I hear you, I think, man, he's keeping the guitar solo alive. Thank you so much for keeping that alive. Because, you know, we went through that span of time where modern rock just kind of did away with the solo and it was nothing but the grunge and all that. So I just appreciate the fact that you're bringing it back. So thank you. Now, you don't have any intention of stopping that, do you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that this album is necessarily about the guitar solo, really. It's more about the songs, and I tried to limit and not make it like a, endless guitar solo or instrumental stuff. I mean, it's like, melodic hard rock stuff that people would want to listen to. So I think it's definitely more about the songs and the riffs, but obviously people are going to expect some solos, you're a guitar player in Whitesnake or whatever. It's like you got to have a little bit of that on the album, man. Otherwise people will be like, hey, what's the deal, dude? No solos? Come on, what are you trying to prove? So, try to find that happy medium, man. Give people a little bit of melody, a little bit of shred in the short solo that's about the song, Yeah. And there you go, man. And then, but definitely more about the song.
been there. And all I know are these streets of fantasy
I agree with you there about the songs, and I think that hearing the songs definitely hears those guitar, the riffs and the parts of the songs and the themes leading up to the solo and all of that all the way through. So walk us through just a little bit about how do you sit down and start to write a song in that vein or in that fashion?
It's always just riffing on guitar, the main rhythm part that you would hear on any of the songs. And then typically I'll write a chorus. So I'll have a chorus, I'll go, there you go, there. And I'll have a melody, hopefully lyrics to a chorus, and then usually build out and start writing a melody as I'm going. Maybe won't have lyrics for like a verse or pre-chorus or bridge yet, you know, like to kind of focus on the riff and the melody, but the chorus is usually there. And then what happens is later on down the road, I'll fill in the lyrics and go like, okay, let's write the lyrics to the verse and pre-chorus, but kind of traditional songwriter in that I build chorus out. I don't necessarily start with a riff and go, there's the song, it's this riff. It's usually a riff and singing, you know, singing a chorus. So I tend to write it a little bit more like that, where it's about the melody. I just think that's what people are always listening to. You get to a chorus, they're not like, hey, that's, you know, great guitar part in the chorus. They're usually singing along to whatever the lyrics are. So anyway, I roll with that.
Well, you mentioned that about this, wanting to write something that was just really good songs and good songwriting. You mentioned that the last time you were on our show, and now that the album's out and I've listened to it, one of the thoughts that was going through my mind today, this is the kind of album that I would want if I'm going somewhere on summer vacation, right? And you got the windows down or the top down in the car. It's just a good, fun, rocking album. And I love that. But I want to stay on this songwriting aspect a little bit. I'm always curious about that. So here you are, you're a guitarist, so you're writing the music, but you're also writing the lyrics as well. What's your experience with, as you've worked with other musicians, either in other bands, take like Whitesnake or Night Ranger, or just your awareness of other musicians and other bands, how they do it? Do you find that ability to write both the music and the lyrics, that often resides in the same person, that somebody has the ability to do both aspects of the song? Or do you find that more often you've got one person in the band who's writing lyrics and somebody else or multiple somebody else's who are working on the music?
I mean, everybody's different, man. Everybody's got their preferences for that, you know. I have fun collaborating with people on songwriting too and doing co-writes, but it's interesting to have something like this where I'm doing all of it as well. And I appreciate that because, you know, it's not like I was going to go in and write lyrics for any of the albums I've done with Night Ranger or Whitesnake. So, you know, for me, that gives me the opportunity to make the songs about my life and about me and just make them, you know, I mean, it's just that much more, I suppose, personal or involved. But nothing wrong with collaborating either. I mean, that's great fun as well. I mean, that's part of the beauty of what we do, you know, and the rock business is it's not always going to be me writing everything. So I found that every musician is different that I know in terms of how they go about it or what they like to do. Or so sometimes you just gotta find the right chemistry between everybody, right, and find your groove.
In younger years, my life was simple. Oh, back when the day belonged to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
Now, with Joel Hoekstra's 13, this is not the first one that you've done. So, how do you go about finding artists to collaborate with? How does that happen?
Well, it's the same lineup as the debut in 2015. So I guess I could talk about how the lineup came together for that. Tony Franklin, the bassist, and I had just done a project called VHF together, and I told him I had this idea of doing something that kind of, it's supposed to sound like a band, but I really want to do all the writing and make it my thing and just give it a project name. And I was like, any drummers you'd have in mind? And he said, Vinny Appice, and I thought, perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for. Kind of back to like the early days for me of like what got me into this whole thing and made me, Vinny's like, he's way up there on that list of guys that I was listening to when I was just starting out and going like, yes, this is what it's all about. So great rhythm section there. I thought, okay, cool. We got, kind of a Dio-ish thing maybe with Vinny. And right at that time, Russell Allen was joining TSO. And I thought, wow, this guy sings Dio like nobody's business. He can sing Foreigner. He can sing Bad Company. This guy can do it all. So a great singer to have in there. And then, Derek Sherinian is like the go-to guy for great sounds, great parts, great solos. I gave him a lot more room on this record. The first one, I wasn't so sure I was going to have keys on. So there wasn't as many solos for Derek on the first record. But anyway, he's a lot happier this time around. And then Jeff Scott Soto, my friend, is just amazing vocalist and really, really great with singing background vocals. So just as a favor, he's done that to me on each of these and just done an amazing job. So great to have them all back for the second one. So there's some continuity, some consistency under the project name. So it's not like a totally different group of guys. People are like, huh, and not knowing what to expect. So there you go. And pretty much kept the formula the same too. Melodic hard rock. I say Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner-ish at its lightest. And there are times where things don't totally fit that description, but, that's the generalization. And then I'd say I just kind of tightened it up in terms of the focus of that sound on this one. With Dying to Live, the first one, I was kind of writing it as I was going and then found that it was Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner. Like, if that makes sense. Whereas this one going in, I was like, that's the sound of this project. Let me write the songs within those guidelines.
Well, obviously, I'm trying to remember, was the other one out on Frontiers as well? Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously Frontiers is the big name and almost the only name for the great kind of classic rock, hard rock, kind of metal stuff going on in the world today. Did you go to Frontiers with this and say, hey, I've got this project, we kind of got this super group kind of thing going on? Did they come to you and say, hey, we want to hear something from you? How did that go about in terms of you? Because obviously Whitesnake's on Frontiers.
Yeah, well, we've been friends and working together now since my joining Night Ranger. I mean, that's where we started. So since I did Somewhere in California with Night Ranger back in 2011. So we went on and played Frontiers Festival, met Serafino and Mario there. And I think, did the second one with Night Ranger, a live album with them. And then we did Dying to Live together. So obviously the records with Whitesnake that you mentioned, the Purple album, Flesh and Blood. Live album there as well. So, now we're starting to get to the point where we've worked together quite a bit. So, we're going to be working together on this project I'm doing with Michael Sweet and Nathan James that I just, gave Michael the guitar riffs for to arrange and everything. So, yeah, I mean, they're amazing at what they do. They get it out there. You're right. I think that they're the most hooked up and into that scene because it's the music they enjoy. And so, yeah, I think they've done a great job getting this out there, and definitely glad to be working with those guys.
What you did to my heart, and it's
So I remember when the video came out, Finish Line, to kind of let everybody know what was coming, when that dropped. And very exciting. It was a very interesting story. What is the story behind it? You mentioned earlier here tonight that this was a lot about your life. Was that a true story? Was that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say, like they say in Hollywood, based on a true story. I mean, it's,
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it's not like, hey, let's go scene by scene and make this exactly what happened in my life. I just kind of gave Wayne Joyner, the animator, a loose idea of what it could be about. I mean, lyrically, it's definitely about that. Bad memories. From being a kid, all those tough times growing up. I mean, a lot of us have them. There was never anything in my life, like getting wailed on every day going home or anything like that. It was not that sad of a story. But I think. The idea being that sets you off on a path where you're trying to prove something to the world, playing guitar, and then I think the idea being you end up doing that, and then there's never a finish line. It's not like you're ever going to get to some point in your life where you're like, yeah, okay, I did it. I proved to everybody I could do this. It's like you're always going to end up just kind of going and going and going. So anyway, that's what it's about. That's about what I told Wayne as well, and then Wayne kind of went with it from there. And I mean, I dig it. I totally dig it. Great job by him.
Oh, it's an awesome video, and we're kind of getting used to, I think, bands releasing maybe the first track or second track off an album might be a lyric video, and it's cool. There'll be some lyrics, but it's some pretty canned kind of background. This is an actual video back in what most of us think of as the MTV videos. Actually tells the story and is so cool. But I love the comic book art of it. I just love the look of that. And in fact, Wildman and I were talking about this before you came on. Are you into comic books at all, or that kind of stuff? The comic book?
I mean, I've always wanted to do animation videos. When I was putting out my instrumental albums, I was always, there was a time where I went around trying to find them to do it first. In particular, my album, The Moon is Falling, that was kind of like real crazy progressive thematic. I had the idea of mixing it in surround sound and having an animator, write something to the whole record. And I always thought that would be really cool, but never got it done. I mean, it was like back then, that was back, 2003, different times for trying to get animation done. And it is totally time consuming and expensive. And I had about like $5 to my name back then. So, different times for that as well. But I would say that this was the product of, I'd seen Frontiers putting out some animation videos from Wayne, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. Like, I'd like to do that. And they suggested it on this, and I was like, yeah. And we were kind of lined up to have Finish Line as the first single, and then Have Hard to Say Goodbye be an animation video. And I thought, in terms of like what you can do with it, I kind of talked about maybe switching that around, so we released Hard to Say Goodbye first as an audio, and then Finish Line I just thought was it's a darker song, cool visuals, I thought Hard to Say Goodbye is just a little bright and happy sounding to maybe have like anyway, I think it worked out great. They were thankfully at Frontiers like willing to roll with that plan, and it came out great, man. It's really fun for me. I always wanted to do the animation thing, so
it's cool, man. I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's a lot of folks in the hard rock metal camp who are also really big comic book aficionados. They really enjoy that, and obviously you don't always have to like one or the other, but a lot of people who seem like they were in the one camp really do enjoy the other, and so to have that style of the animation, the storytelling, really kind of the classic video going along with that, it absolutely works. So if we could, and this is hard to ask for an artist, I mean, this is your baby, but do you have a favorite track off the album?
no, I don't. I really don't, man. It's too hard because they all kind of do something a little different. So if you say one, then it's, like, I don't know. I like to say this about finding a balance. between finding the heavy riffs, satisfy the people who are more in it for the hard rock and the metal and about the guitar riff, and then also the hooky melody stuff. That's more for the people that have more of the pop-minded sensibility or whatever, and just trying to find the blend of those two, the perfect blend, so that everybody likes the album. So some songs lean a little bit more to the heavy side, some lean a little bit more towards the lighter melodic side, or even sections of songs. So it's very hard for me to pick a favorite.
That's interesting because just recently there was an indie artist that I saw post something where he said that our songs are our children, so people be careful what you say about them, right? So it's almost the same thing. Your songs are your children, so it's like you can't pick a favorite because they're all a part of you. So
Yeah.
that leads me to a thought that I wanted to ask you about, Joel. When you write an album like this, and when you put everything, all the pieces together, and like you said, that this is the way you wanted it from the beginning, and you were putting out this goal. What was it? What is the I guess I don't know if it's message, if it's impact. What were you trying to accomplish with this project at this time? Um,
I mean, it just so happened to be that's when I could finally finish it, as far as at this time. So zero COVID related. All the lyrics were written and songs were written before any of this, with the exception of the last track, "Running Games." But that was written just to kind of tie it all together. So as far as the COVID thing, no message there. It was more a product of, traveling all over the world and then analyzing like, why the heck am I on the road constantly and doing all this and like, looking back at my life kind of thing. So I would say as far as reason for doing it, it's definitely the artistic expression of it to have something that's really my baby where it's like I had everything to do with it. I mean, it's a lot more than typically when you're in a band and you write like part of a song or an element of a song or something. So with this, I'm really writing all of it. So I would say that it's to feel that strong connection to it. And at the end of the day, I want to be known as more than a guy who just like had some cool gigs. I mean, I want to release my own music and have an artistic outlet as well.
Is there any opportunity or anything kind of in the vision for you guys of possibly touring? I don't know, later in 2021 or even heading into 2022?
We did a live show on the Monsters of Rock cruise in support of Dying to Live, so it's happened. Now, in terms of right now, I mean, dude, we got to get the world open, man. I would definitely love to get it out there and do what I could to get it out there. So, I mean, including doing all kinds of things that make no financial sense. I'm a big believer in that. So, if it comes down to me taking a loss to get out there, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but it's just a matter of whether or not the world is going to provide that opportunity right now. I mean, and then there's whether or not the world is everybody's going to want to get out there at the same time when things do start opening up. So, I'll definitely try. Definitely.
Well, we're all looking forward to that possibility. That's for sure. Because when I hear this, this this whole album is definitely fist pumping material, and with fist pumping material you got to do that in an arena with the band on stage and have a blast together with everybody. So that's what we're hoping for. But I want to ask you this, Joel. The last time you were on the show I didn't get a chance to ask you this. What is your favorite guitar that you play? I've seen you play several.
Mm.
What is your
I,
favorite guitar?
it's my gold top Les Paul, definitely. That's my number one. That has been through too many times with me and been around the world with me, and that's definitely my main one. But the Les Paul in general, because like nipping at its heels are definitely like the white custom. I play with White Snake that has the medallion and the stencil on it, and I would say the black one as well. And then I have a white and black custom here at home that I use with TSO, and it's all my Les Pauls, man. It's like those kind of stay; those are always here, and the rest of the guitars are always down here, kind of. But I definitely have turned into a Les Paul guy. Although I really enjoy my Jackson PC1, the Phil Collin model, for doing Floyd Rose stuff and Sustainer stuff, and for clean stuff, I still just enjoy like a Fender Tele and a Fender Strat. Just kind of as much as I don't know, as much crazy stuff as I've played in my life. I'm very much a traditionalist in that regard. It's like Marshall and Fender amps, Gibson,
Yeah.
Fender. I mean, it's like all kind of the real traditional stuff.
Taking life as it comes to me just isn't my way. Ooh, baby, I long to be myself in a day. Oh Lord, I know I can't clear my head. Oh no. So soon I'll go hang with the dead. Your heart attack just coming down.
But you give lessons, and do you ever give any kind of advice to your students, or if they're asking you, "Hey, man, I'm trying to get into this. What kind of equipment do I need to be getting?" Do you ever kind of try to guide them in one direction or another, whether it's brands or styles?
Yeah, I mean, sure, a little bit. A lot of that depends on how comfortable the person is in the early going too. But I mean, it can be as simple as a Strat is set on spring tensions. So, if people are going to be tuning from a half step down to standard to a whole step down, at times if they're in a little bit in the beginning level and they don't have multiple guitars, like, hey, maybe avoid that. Just get something with a stop tailpiece, like an Epiphone Les Paul that you can tune to different pitches without your action going bananas on you and your tuning going bananas on you. So stuff like that. But I mean, outside of that, I'm very much like, hey, don't worry about 9 million pedals, and just try and get yourself a good guitar and a good amp, and boom, and a good acoustic. That's important too.
Mm-hmm. Would you, when you're talking with students, and again, one of the things we like to think about, because we talk with some up and coming artists, and I know people who listen to our show who are maybe themselves thinking about getting into music and so forth. Do you tend to suggest that a beginning guitarist start on acoustic, or does it matter? Is it matter of personal preference?
I usually say electric because I think it's easier. It's easier to see around. The bodies are narrower, so you can see what you're doing better, as opposed to an acoustic. You feel like it's out there and you don't know what you're
Yeah.
what you're playing when you're starting. That's a big deal. And I think it's easier on the hands too, just to press down and actually get a note out. The strings are lighter gauge and easier on the fingers. So yeah, it's funny that became some kind of like normal thing. Like, well, you start on acoustic and then switch to electric. It's like, no, you start on electric and then when you're good, you're like, okay, let me check out an acoustic too. And also, I think the style of rhythm that you learn on an electric is more conducive to beginning as well. You know, you play single note riffs sometimes on an electric, or power chord riffs, which is just two notes or three notes. And on an acoustic, you're typically setting up the bigger, open chords or bar chords, and that's much harder on a beginner. I mean, that's like, you're talking like a minute to get a chord set up. Like, hold on, let me put this finger here, this one. Okay, strum it twice. Okay, next one. Hold on, hold on, hold on. So now, moving a power chord around, that's a lot easier to teach a beginner. So, yeah, it's always, for me, it's made more sense to have somebody start on electric.
Oh, if you ever own my mind, you'd only give it back. And if you ever bought my time, you'd want your money back.
So, Joel, you traveled all over with TSO, with Whitesnake, Night Ranger. What are the fans saying in general? Like when you are out there and you talk to the fans, of course you haven't been able to.
Stop playing. It sounds terrible. Stop playing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Other than that, yeah.
no, I'm sorry. I couldn't help.
that's okay.
I had to tell a joke at my own expense.
Understood. But just in general, as well as specifically about this album, what are you hearing from the fans right now when they're hearing your work?
I mean, the feedback seems to be really good. I've read really nothing but good reviews, and that's always a good thing. And I've read, a lot of different opinions on the top songs, and that I consider to be a positive as well. It's not like it's totally obvious, like, oh, these two songs are the best, and then there's this big drop off, So there seems to be a lot of people saying, oh, I like this one, or no, my favorite are these three, and it's surprising actually when you put it out. It's like, oh, okay, cool, all right, right on, So yeah, it seems to be great. I'm very happy with the reaction.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about the feedback and so forth, and I don't know, it just made me think. Over the years, there's been obviously the different music media outlets. I mean, I think back to Kerrang and Melody Maker, and of course Rolling Stone, and then there was in the 80s you had your Hit Parader and Circus and all that kind of stuff, and now I think like Blabbermouth and Loudwire and some of these. Who are the sources where you say, okay, I see a review of our album in that source or that website, and I go, yeah, okay, that really means something. That's good. Who are the ones that artists look at and say, yeah, that's really a place where I want to see a good review?
I don't know. I mean, I look at it like I'm in partnership with everybody out there, So a lot of it is just me having the opportunity to put it on my social media as well. So even if somebody is not a big .com or doesn't have a large following, which there's a lot of those out there, I think that's fine. They're trying to build their thing. I'm trying to build my thing. So we're working together usually when you have that opportunity. Not that they're giving me a good review just because I'll post it, but I look at it like it doesn't matter as much. I mean, like, let's say nowadays you have a review in Guitar Player Magazine or whatever that's a good review. It doesn't mean what it used to, where everybody was buying the hard print copy.
Right.
It's like that's kind of gone down, the importance of that stuff. So whereas some of the old school mentality used to be to wait for the big stuff, and nowadays it's kind of like you never know what could take off and be the big thing, So I don't know. I don't necessarily have one that I favor over the other. I just kind of look at it like, hey, they're saying good stuff. Okay, cool. Hey, look, everybody, they said good stuff.
Yes, I know my path can often show a life away from home, a truth that I must own.
what's the next single coming out from the album?
So, well, all three singles have pretty much come out at this point, and the album's out. So it's all up on YouTube in terms of the three singles. That first one I mentioned, Hard to Say Goodbye, is audio. Finish Line, you can watch the animation video we are talking about. And then How Do You is the third single, and that's out and under listened to because it was the third single. So everybody go listen to How Do You, and I'll be happy.
You heard it, folks. Go ahead. So, Joel, something that I just have to ask you, and I'm sure there's a fan out there that wants to ask this. There's a couple things, actually, but the first one would be this. When you're by yourself, you're not listening to what you do, Whitesnake, Night Ranger, TSO, or Hoekstra's 13. What does Joel Hoekstra listen to?
Very little. I pretty much teach guitar 5-6 hours a day, do a session. By then I've played guitar for 8 hours, 7-8 hours. So it's pretty limited. It's pretty much down to what are my kids listening to? Right now, you wouldn't even believe it if I told you. I think you'd probably get a pretty good laugh. But they're going retro right now, and I've got them into the Brady Bunch, and they've been listening to the songs that they sang on those episodes. That Sunshine Day and
Sunshine Day, yeah.
keep on moving, and Time to Change. So that's
Time to Change. Yes.
lately. Those have been the songs that have been played at my house.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard it here first, that Joel Hoekstra's next album, he's going to redo those three songs, right, Joel?
Yes.
Heavily influenced by Dio, Foreigner, and the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
That might be the first time those three have ever been mentioned in the same interview.
Quite possibly, yeah. My son's a little rocker. I mean, he definitely enjoys the rock stuff. So he's listening to Iron Maiden a lot, and he likes Motley Crue. So I'll kind of hip him to some songs here and there. And my daughter, before this Brady Bunch thing, was very much Frozen, the Frozen 1, Frozen 2 songs. So a lot of that stuff makes its way around in the house here.
Well, you're talking to two middle-aged parents here as well, so we know exactly what you're talking about, and many of our listeners also, I'm sure, ears just perked up when they heard "Sunshine Day" on the Wild Man and Steve show. So, and Frozen as well. That's great. I mean, those Frozen songs are so ingrained into my mind right now, I can't get them out. Not that I want to. Whoever's listening. So something else I just want to throw at you, not even music related. Steve and I were talking earlier. We were talking about pizza. What is Joel Hoekstra's favorite pizza?
There's a long list from back when I lived in Chicago. There was my favorite thin crusts were, even though it's become a chain now, but I loved Home Run Inn, and I loved Aurelio's. And as far as the deep dish goes, Lou Malnati's, Giordano's, and again, another chain that's not as cool to say, but I really enjoyed Connie's. There was a Connie's near me that was really, really good, and really great deep dish. And then I would say here in New York, I like Ray's, I got a Ray's near me that's really great. And that's kind of hey, it's my birthday, I'm eating Ray's with extra pepperoni and, passing out on the sofa.
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah, I just knew it. There's something about guitar and pizza. They just go together,
They go together, man. We got into this profession to enjoy life, So yeah, eating pizza, that's part of enjoying life, right?
Yeah, you can't enjoy life without pizza.
I know, especially the last year and a half or so, like a year and a couple months, my life would be very empty without pizza. There's the quote from the episode.
There it is.
My life, and that's your fourth single that's going to come out after this episode.
Yes.
My life would be empty without pizza. Yes.
Empty without pizza. Yes.
Yeah. So, anything? What's on the horizon elsewhere in your life? White Snake. What's
Just
coming ahead?
got those riffs into Michael for that project with Nathan James, and so eventually get that stuff kicked back to me here to record my guitars for real, because I kind of gave, same as this stuff always starts out with scratch tracks. What you record, that's going to get erased and recorded for real. So that been co-writing a little with my friend Jim Peterick for an album he's producing, doing some sessions for people. Lots of that, actually. Playing solos on people's stuff, and lots of that, teaching a ton, cameos, quarantine videos. I got a couple of those in the works that will be out just for fun, where you cover a song, but people name people, and have a little fun, candid video. So there's a couple of those in the works. So I just try to stay busy every day and keep moving forward, man.
Well, let us just say that we do appreciate all that you do, the work that you put into this, and the products you put out are just amazing. And just as an artist, I look at this the same way as an author who writes books. What you do is touching people's lives, and it's inspiring people. Because one of the things that I get from this album Running Games, is it's very inspiring and it's very positive. It's not something that you go away from and you're down, you're depressed now. Oh no, how am I going to get through life? It's more of, this is how you get through life. And we just appreciate the message of what you're putting out there.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks, man. Well, I try to keep it real with the lyrics, but I try to keep it also to the point where people can find their own meaning in the stuff too. I don't want it to be like, hey, it's about this specifically. I mean, it's like, this stuff's usually about concepts, man, so people can kind of put their own meanings into the songs.
Good. Well, hey, Joel, thank you for taking the time once again to be with us. This has been great. We will have you on again, I'm sure, after your next project comes out. If you will, grace us with your presence, because we know how difficult it is to put up with the two of us. But, we just appreciate the fact you've done that tonight.
Absolutely. Well, you guys get the Brady Bunch songs together and I'll consider it.
All right.
Dude, that would sell so big.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Little teaser clip on Facebook. I can see it now, Come on,
absolutely.
you guys. You two, I'm seeing it. I'm thinking.
I can see Steve walking out right now. I think I'll go for a walk outside now.
Got it. I'm digging it.
All right. Very good, sir. Thank you, Joel. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll find him and joelhoekstra.com, and you just find everything that he's doing.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks a lot, sir. We will see you soon.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man.
Cheers. Have a nice night.
Took my will to live, those actions took a toll. So if you ever hear me calling out your name, just know that half of this is true. If you can see through my running games, you'd see our hearts split in two. Out in the distance from all the closest to me wonder what it takes to envelop someone searching for escape. So please remember what I'm telling you today. I hope forgiveness lives in you. If you should see through my running games, you'll find I'm dreaming into.
It was great to interview Joel Hoekstra once again. His song Finish Line is truly a message for all of us. It takes a moment and has us look into our hearts to see what our motivation is and why we are doing what we are doing. Sometimes what we seek and hope for, we never find. Here at the Wild Man and Steve Show, we believe God has a plan for everyone, regardless of background and who you are. As you go throughout your day today, I challenge you to say one simple prayer: Jesus, show me what life is all about, and He will be faithful to do so. The Wild Man and Steve Show is now partnering with New Release Today. Find out more about them at newreleasetoday.com. And don't forget to check out our website, where you can also leave us a review at wildmanandsteve.com. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.